This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Friday, the real Friday, March 14th, and today's fitness pod is the best one yet.
Our top 3 stories of the last year on fitness and apparel.
Yetis, maybe we are catching you on the treadmill, the elliptical, or just a good old-fashioned speed walk.
Love a good old-fashioned speed walk.
It's good for the heart, good for the health.
So many of you listen to the show while you're working out. And since it's spring break time, we thought we'd whip up a special episode for your workout.
So besties, while you're getting beach ready, this entire episode is on the fitness and athletic apparel industry.
So enjoy a break from the insane news cycle and all the tariff whiplash.
Because Jack and I are about to hit our 3 best fitness stories from the last year.
Once it's over, send this episode to your buddy who just finished Pilates, who spots you on the squat rack, or who still owns shares of Peloton.
Guilty. All right, yeah, we still own shares of Peloton. No big deal.
And enjoy this episode over spring break.
Jack, what do we got on the fitness pod?
For our first story, we're going back to May 3rd, 2024. When Barry's Bootcamp was trying to sell itself for $1 billion.
Because nothing drives cash flow like a cult.
For our second story, it's from November 12th. Viori was riding Lululemon's coattails and had just hit a $5 billion valuation.
Because Viori's founder's greatest weakness is his greatest strength.
And our third and final story is from July 2nd. Nike stock fell 20% in one day.
Brutal.
The worst day on the stock market for Nike in 20 years.
But Nike's pain is actually Adidas's gain.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix of stories.
And 1 and 2 and fantastic mix today, Jack.
We know what you're wearing right now.
Odds are, statistically speaking, you are wearing head-to-toe athleisure.
Because 85% of Americans wear athleisure even when they're not working out.
Which means 85% of you are in Lulu leggings while listening to this podcast.
Post-pandemic, the fitness industry never looked hotter.
Workout clubs are how Gen Z does dating.
Sweat-wicking pants is how you dress even for your finance job.
Jack, Planet Fitness, their stock just hit an all-time high.
Peloton? I wish.
But the fitness industry has gotten so large, we even covered the biggest sauna in America last year.
So Yetis, ease up on that pickleball swing. And don't pull a hammy.
Because today's pod is our 3 best fitness stories of the last year. Jack,
let's hit it.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in the dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, we're going back to May 3rd, 2024.
Barry's Bootcamp. Now, since we covered Barry's, they closed a new financing round with a private equity firm, which they're using to expand from 89 cities to 12 more.
Well, let's get to the story.
Let's hit it. Barry's Bootcamp is hoping for its biggest workout ever. Barry's is trying to sell itself for $1 billion.
101, 102, 103. But if we're going to talk about Barry's, we need to talk about the business of cults.
Jack, to jump in T-Boy style to this story, I just booked the class Saturday morning, 8:40 a.m. in the marina with Ali E. It's a tough class.
You're going to be surrounded by spandex and sweat.
Oh, that San Francisco marina location, dude. That is a hot mess, baby. But Yetis, Barry's, it is a nightclub with dumbbells.
Barry's Bootcamp is a boutique fitness studio full of red lights, treadmills, and pounding Diplo music.
Honestly, you go to Barry's, it feels like a Berlin discoteca, and everyone is wearing a black sports bra. The only difference with the discoteca, no Velcro.
True. True. Barry says they invented the hit workout, high-intensity interval training.
What does that look like exactly, Jack?
5 minutes on the treadmill, 5 minutes using weights, 5 minutes on the floor, 10 minutes of being yelled at.
Yetis, when you're at a Barry's, the instructor has 7 calf tats, 14 abs, and may or may not have been on The Bachelor.
They're going to tell you their inspirational origin story about how they got where they are.
But here's the origin of Barry's Bootcamp. Barry's was actually founded back in 1998 in West Hollywood. So Jack, ironically, Barry's is a lot like its average customer.
26, rich, and from LA.
Yes, exactly. And founder Barry J., who started the company, had no military background. Interestingly, he just decked out the gym in camo, and it blew up from there.
And he called it a boot camp, even though he didn't go to Bootcamp.
Brands are all about the vibe. But Yetis, here's the news, and this is fascinating.
Barry's has hired investment bankers because they want to sell the company.
Barry's tried to sell itself in 2019 for $700 million, but this time, Barry's wants even more.
We're pegging the price tag for Barry's at a clean 9 digits. $1 billion.
But Yetis, here's what Jack and I found fascinating about this story. Since the pandemic, we've noticed that the survivor companies in certain industries have only gotten stronger.
Because the pandemic sent revenues in fitness to zero. Because panting in a gym inches from your neighbor's butt, that was not CDC approved.
But now Barry's is setting personal records in the fitness industry. Jack, what kind of numbers we talking, man?
Barry's has opened 26 studios since the pandemic began. Plus, they launched their own spin studio that looks just like SoulCycle.
Oh, and whip out the whiteboard because the financials on Barry's are looking pretty buff too.
Revenues jumped 27% last year, and every single Barry's location is profitable on its own.
Sit down, stand up, and give me 20. And get this, Yetis, 140,000 sweaty humans attend a Barry's class at least once a week.
And 2/3 of those Barry's members are women.
Now, Jack, what's the price of one of those 50-minute classes that you used to do and that I've got coming up in like 24 hours?
I used to attend the Barry's at swanky Stanford Shopping Center. One class is $37.
But then, Jack, Barry's subscriptified their business. And how much can you pay for a monthly membership to Barry's?
They have a global membership for jet setters because there's a Barry's in like every high-end city. It's $500 a month.
$500 a month. And no, that does not include the flaxseed smoothies.
And guess this, it also doesn't include the Hamptons location, which I guess has its own membership.
But Yetis, those numbers are big. They're impressive. They are strong. And they're the reason why the big money wants in on Barry's.
Barry's 2 biggest investors are private equity firms who hope to sell the company right now to an even bigger private equity firm.
And the interesting thing Jack and I noticed is that private equity firms are really into boutique fitness these days.
Equinox, SoulCycle, Orange Theory. They're all boutique fitness studios, and they're all majority owned by private equity.
So Jack and I have got to know, what is the core part of Barry's business model that these financial firms just love?
It's not a Tabata, it's a takeaway.
I like what you did there. Now get on that treadmill. So Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Barry's?
Nothing drives cash flow like a cult.
Now, Yetis, first of all, Jack and I should point out, cults have a bad reputation, but the definition of a cult is actually very straightforward and fair.
If you read the definition of cult, it feels like society's giving it a bad rap, actually.
The dictionary.com definition of a cult is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object.
Cult is how the Los Angeles Times, the New York Times, even Barry's members describe Barry's Bootcamp.
Preserving that cult status is actually critical to Barry's entire business.
Because Barry's only has 84 locations.
But Planet Fitness has 2,500 locations.
Barry's charges $37 per class.
But Planet Fitness charges just $10 per month.
So for Barry's to command the highest pricing power and have so few locations.
Well, Barry's needs loyalty beyond reason. It needs a religious level of devotion. It needs a cult.
That is why Barry's has 3 a.m. at the club atmosphere. That is why instructors give TED Talks mid-workout.
And that is why I'm going to be there at like 7 in the morning ripping on my shirt apparently tomorrow, Jack.
Cult-like following, that's an asset that every brand wants to have.
And that is the reason Barry's is putting a $1 billion price tag on itself.
1,001, 1,002, 1,003.
For our second story, we're going back to November 12th, 2024.
Viori. You've probably seen their stuff since then. Viori, the athleisure brand, just hit a $5.5 billion valuation.
How is Viori beating Lululemon? By studying where Lulu wouldn't go.
Funny thing, Yetis, if you're on a date in San Francisco, then Viori is your third wheel.
I just spilled acai bowl on your Viori.
Oh, it's okay. We're wearing the same Viori. Yetis, Viori. It's the athleisure brand with like a SoCal kind of vibe, right, Jack?
It looks like Lululemon's cooler younger brother. Viori. It was founded by a lax bro in San Diego who was actually an accountant at Ernst & Young.
Really interesting story. His first 2 startups actually failed, and then he became an accountant professionally by trade.
But his third startup has some news. Viori raised $825 million in a venture capital round that valued the company at $5.5 billion.
They may IPO next year, but Jack, can you sprinkle on some context to those athleisure numbers, please?
Lululemon is 8 times more valuable than Viori, but Viori is twice as valuable as Under Armour is.
In fact, SoftBank, the Japanese venture capital firm that invested in WeWork, they dropped $400 million into Viori as well.
Adam Newman definitely wears Viori.
And that's one reason why Viori's revenues have nearly quadrupled year over year over year.
Viori is growing faster than Alo Yoga, Athleta, or any other athleisure brand.
Though this does lead to the big question, because we know that you're wondering it, besties.
How do you pronounce it? It's Viori.
It's not Vuori or Viori, it's Viori, which is nothing like it's spelled.
And it's Finnish for mountain, because this lax bro probably studied abroad in Finland.
Doesn't make any sense, which is why it makes so much sense. But besties, the biggest surprise about Viori isn't actually the pronunciation, it is the profits.
Because every other direct-to-consumer startup we've covered, from Allbirds to Casper to Warby Parker, they're not profitable for years.
And yet Viori isn't just profitable. Viori has been profitable since the very beginning.
Because a funny detail we found in this story. The founder, Joe Kudla, the lax bro from San Diego, he says he's really bad at raising money.
Yeah, remember Jack mentioned his first 2 startups? They failed.
But he is a trained accountant at Ernst & Young, so he knows how to balance a checkbook.
So this guy, he can't impress Andreessen Horowitz, but he can balance the books.
So given that he was bad at raising money, he didn't want to run out of money, so he focused on profitability from the very beginning.
He was so paranoid about losing money, he was like, we got to make these shorts profitable or we're going to be out of business in 2 months.
That means he couldn't splurge on Instagram ads, promo codes for 40% off your first purchase, or billboards right off the 101.
He just focused on adding stores and word-of-mouth growth and keeping it simple.
Now that focus on profitability, it slowed his growth. It's taken him 9 years to get where he is with Viori.
But 9 long years later, Viori is now worth twice as much as Under Armour.
Who's protecting this house now?
It's Viori and the 3 other dudes I also saw this weekend wearing the same Viori black camo shirt as I have, Jack. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Viori?
Don't avoid the void, jump into the void.
Yetis, athleisure brands, they've come and gone, from outdoor voices to fabletics. And yet Viori hasn't just survived, Viori has thrived.
And the key reason why is that the founder used his rivals for research. The founder studied Lululemon in their stores.
Lululemon created the athleisure category, so other brands, they started copying them with the same similar athleisure ideas.
But Joe Kudla did something different. He walked into Lululemon and looked at what wasn't happening there.
Yeah, the one thing Lulu didn't have a section on, it was menswear at the time. There was no men's section, and so he focused on that.
He literally walked into a store, found a void, and then jumped into that void with his startup.
Eureka, men's focused athleisure. Lulu isn't doing it, so give to men what Lululemon gave to women.
Now today, Viori sales are about 50-50 male-female, and Lululemon has a lot of male sales too.
But that strategy, it worked. And it's a strategy we've covered on this pod before, right, Jack?
Remember Shark Ninja, the home appliance company?
Yeah, they make the air fryers and they make the blenders out there.
They create their new products by first checking out their rivals' websites, reading the negative reviews, and then finding a product that will solve those customer problems.
That's essentially the same thing Viori did by going into Lulu stores and seeing what they weren't making.
Yetis, there's voids all over the marketplace. Sometimes you just need to walk into a rival store to find them.
Hey Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it. And our third and final story is from July 2nd, 2024.
Oh, a lot has happened since then, Jack, for Nike. They fired their CEO and they promoted their long-term company vet, Elliot Hill, to lead the company. He started as an intern.
Hasn't helped the stock, though. It's down 10% since we originally published this story in July.
Adidas, they're up 13% since this story. So, Jack, let's hit it. As Nike falls, the swoosh's pain is Adidas's gain.
We'll tell you the 3 reasons why the sneaker industry is getting rearranged like your shoe drawer.
All right, Nike, it's Coach Jack and Coach Nick over here coming to our office. All right, Jack, what do you think we got to tell Nike?
Bring him in here, toss him in the ice bath, and then get him 2 Tylenols, 3 Advils, 1 Theragun,
and some Bengay.
And we want you getting massaged by Shaq like it's nobody's business because Yeti's Nike just had its worst day on the stock market since 2001.
2001, Michael Jordan was still playing. LeBron was in high school.
True story. Oh, and Nike shares, they fell 18% on Friday like Shooter McGavin on the 18th hole.
LeBron's son hadn't been born yet, the one who just got drafted in the NBA.
And it's all because Nike reported sales fell 2% last quarter, and they warned a 10% sales drop is coming this quarter.
Nike is looking like Space Jam before they took Michael's secret stuff.
Nike right now would not be able to beat the aliens, is what Jack's saying.
I mean, a 10% drop for a company like Nike? That is brutal.
In fact, Yetis, Jack and I jumped in T-Boy style. Nike stock is down 50% from its all-time high.
Over the past 5 years, if you owned the S&P 500, your investment has nearly doubled in the past 5 years. But Nike has fallen by 12% over that same 5-year period.
And here's why Jack and I find that story fascinating, Yetis. Because Nike's pain is Adidas's gain.
Adidas' sales are up right now, and their stock has risen by 20% in the past year.
Nike, like we said before, Jack, it's looking less Steve Kerr, more Brian Scalabrine.
Surprisingly, we have said that before.
Or was he not born right now? I don't know. So, Yetis, we know what you're thinking over there. Why are investors subbing out Nike for Adidas on the floor right now?
We found 3 things that both of them are doing different.
Yes, we did. And the first thing that Nike and Adidas are doing differently, Jack,
Is strategic. Nike called the wrong play when it comes to e-commerce.
Because Yetis, Nike made the mistake of pulling out of third-party stores to instead focus on selling Nike shoes in their stores and on Nike.com.
Adidas responded by slipping in and filling Nike's space at Foot Lockers, at Dick's, and all the other third-party retailers.
Now, the second thing that Nike did that Adidas didn't do was an aesthetic mistake.
A crime of fashion.
A crime of fashion. Because Nike's Air Force One is now getting replaced by fashionistas with the more casual Adidas Samba.
And the third divergence of these two brands is in marketing.
Because Nike has lost the love of the leaders.
Remember those see-through baseball jerseys? The whole debacle that Nike was responsible for?
I mean, Jack, I'm looking at Shohei Ohtani right now, and I'm seeing a whole lot of Shohei Ohtani right now.
That huge fashion faux pas lost Nike the love of the athletic leaders in the industry.
And consumers have followed with them.
But there's actually a bigger error that both Nike and Adidas made.
Funny thing, Jack, I noticed, they both made this mistake, and so we decided to make it our takeaway. So, Jack, what's the takeaway about our buddies over in the shoe industry?
If you're not in their ears, you're not in their minds.
Now, Yetis, Nike and Adidas, they are both fantastic at marketing. You see the Nike and Adidas ads every other subway, like it's everywhere. You always see their commercials.
But consumers don't choose what to purchase based on what they see. They choose what to purchase based on what they hear.
Bessie's great story in the Wall Street Journal last week about how Nike and Adidas both lost the local running club.
Those casual running clubs of America, where the runners influence what the shoe buying trends of the moment are.
You have a friend who's in one of these running clubs because they've told you they're in one of these running clubs.
They have really skimpy shorts, I've noticed.
It's a vibe, Jack. But Yetis, according to one running club in Portland, Oregon, Nike running reps only run with that club like once a year now. That's a drop.
But that running club in Portland sees reps from Hoka, On, Brooks, Asics, and other fast-growing running shoe rivals 4 times a year. Not once a year, 4 times a year.
And those run club runners, they're the ones working in the shoe stores. They're the ones advising friends, and they're the ones who are writing all the sneaker blogs.
And since Nike hasn't been around, those runners are driving sneakers from Nike to upstart shoe companies.
And honestly, Jack and I have experienced this, haven't we, Jack?
I went to a running shoe store in Essex. They didn't even consider showing me Nikes. They showed me all the other products because that's what the runners are running with.
I was told to try on Hokas and Ons, and I ended up with a pair of Ons. Nike wasn't even in the running yesterday.
They sold me Brooks. They didn't even know my son's name was Brooks.
Because Yetis, Brooks and other upstart brands, they were in the runners' ears, while Nike was not.
And if you're not in their ears, you're not in their minds. But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, in our daily WTF update, Whiplash tariff forecast. Trump doubled down on tariffs again yesterday.
Trump threatened to tariff French champagne and European wine by 200%.
Yeah, this is going to like triple the price of your mimosa at brunch.
Meanwhile, China is threatening Walmart for trying to push the cost of tariffs onto Chinese suppliers.
Stocks, they fell 1.5% on Thursday to a new 6-month low on all the tariff whiplash.
Second, Russia's Vladimir Putin is open to talk about the Trump-negotiated ceasefire proposal over in Ukraine.
But he does have some demands. First, he wants Ukraine to give Russia all of the land that Russia invaded.
Second, he wants Ukraine to promise never to join NATO. And third, he wants Ukraine to promise to replace President Zelensky with somebody else.
Of course, reminder here, Putin was the aggressor who invaded Ukraine despite his efforts to twist the truth to justify it.
And finally, New York City has a new plan to improve the MTA subway system. Stick Google phones on all the train cars.
Yeah, apparently that's it. The MTA wants to put Google phones on subway cars and just like turn the camera on to detect delay issues.
Is it a GPS thing? Is that what they're trying to do?
Apparently, Jack, if there's like water on the tracks, they want these Google phones to like see the water, send the info to the cloud, and then like keep the train moving or something.
Oh, so the phones are basically just security cameras, kind of?
I don't know if they've totally thought this through, honestly. And apparently they piloted it last year, and now they want to stick Android phones on the subway to speed up your 4 train to work.
Can't afford an iPhone?
Actually, no, they can't afford an iPhone right now. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one whipped up by Jack and me.
This is wild. There is a part of the fitness industry that is way bigger than you realize.
Yeah, this is pretty shocking. What is it, Jack?
Supplements.
Yeah, supplements are bigger than the fitness industry.
Whey protein, plant-based protein, creatine, prebiotic, pre-work probiotic.
All of that. The fitness industry, like your workouts, the gym, that's valued at $20 billion.
But the US supplements market is worth more than twice that.
What we are saying, besties, is that people spend more on powder and pills than they spend on hidden treadmills. Peloton, time to launch a protein shake. Yetis, you look fantastic over there. No, we mean it. You look fantastic over there. What are you working with?
I'm sorry, are you talking to me?
I don't know who I'm talking to at this point. I'm here. Everyone's working out. Everyone's getting ready for spring break. They really do look fantastic out there.
Tell everybody you see at the beach this weekend or at the gym, HYHTBOY.
Then offer them some whey protein and say, have you heard the best one yet?
Nick and I will be back Monday with our regular programming.
If you know, you know. See you there. Before we go, a happy birthday to the legendary TK Teddy Kramer, turning 33 years old down in Brattleboro, Vermont.
Do you know he's the former AT&T wireless salesman of the month?
You didn't say that confidently, Jack, but we can fact check and enroll.
Always a great brother, now thriving as a girl dad of 3.
I just want to say also, best real estate agent in the entire New England region. Just putting that out there.
Greater New England region.
And happy birthday to Nella Regalado, celebrating down in fancy Las Vegas.
Happy 33rd birthday to Doe over in Singapore.
And Sean Thomas turning 30 years old down in Hotlanta, Atlanta.
Happy birthday to Deborah Rios in Washington, D.C., who's turning 40 and running the Rock and Roll Half Marathon.
And Steven Chmielewski just got accepted to so many master's programs, doesn't know what to do. So he's celebrating all of them down in Tucson.
And happy birthday to Super Macaroni, the Golden Doodle, who's turning 3 in San Diego.
Puppy. Go boy.